Hey guys, it's Angelo, and upon request of many of you guys, today we're having a look at what trinkets you will want to use on your Shadow Priest for Antorus, the Burning Throne. Our trinket dynamic has certainly changed, and with a lot of new trinkets being added in Legion's newest raid, we certainly have a lot to look over. In this video, I'll give you a rundown of all of our new trinkets, as well as old ones that are still viable today. Somewhat similar to my legendary review, I will rank all trinkets into different tiers of effectiveness, but this time focusing on multi-target effectiveness and single-target effectiveness, and a final list that shows the trinkets that are the most optimal for us. The final trinkets will be the ones you want to aim for, but all trinkets on this list need to be discussed in order for you to understand why. Now please keep in mind that this video is not going to include every single trinket in the game, because a lot of trinkets are completely obsolete by now, so we will focus on only the most relevant ones. Also, I will, for purposes of this guide, assume that all trinkets we are talking about here are at the same item level, ideally anywhere above 940 or at specifically around 940, 945, to make it fair to compare the trinkets in comparison to current gear values. Different item levels, or gem slots even, always affect how good a given trinket is, so please take these factors into consideration carefully. A trinket you may currently use, which I haven't mentioned here, can very well be better than most trinkets on this list, due to perhaps an incredibly high item level or even included a gem slot. Those are the exceptions though, and generally speaking, the trinkets in this video will certainly be your most optimal options. Good, now without any further ado, let's go right ahead and have a look. First, let's discuss our new trinkets. There's actually quite a few of them, so stick with me here. The Accurate Catalyst Injector, which is a stat buff trinket. Amandul's Vision, which is essentially an Arcano Crystal, also a legendary, with higher stats, a bonus effect, and a very strong intellect buff if procced. Norgodon's Prowess, with another same intellect buff actually if procced, and a secondary proc. The Prototype Personal Decimator, which has flat haste and an AoE effect. The Sheath of Asara, an intellect trinket with an AoE effect also. The Terminus Signaling Beacon actually, with Mastery and, surprise, another AoE effect. And lastly, the Vitality Resonator, which has versatility and actually has an on-use single target centered effect. Antorus clearly focuses heavily on multi-target effective trinkets, and seeing as how many fights in the raid are of the multi-targeted kind, this makes perfect sense. Overall, most of these trinkets are definitely strong, but there are other trinkets that are just as effective, if not even stronger, and drop in the Tomb of Sargeras. To start us off, let's have a look at trinkets that are strong in any AoE situation. So, the trinkets will be strong anywhere from 2 targets and up, but will be strongest with either almost constant 3 targets in a fight, or with more than 3 targets spread throughout the entire fight. Very strong in these situations is without a doubt the Spectral Thurible, which is a Tomb of Sargeras trinket, with a relatively high proc chance per minute, and even though it has versatility, arguably her worst stat, it proves to be very effective in any scenario that includes more than 1 target. Also strong in these situations is the Tome of Unraveling Sanity, due to its effect. The dot that the trinket places onto a target itself is pretty strong, but the increase of critical strike means that your dots will start ticking for a lot more damage, and you gain more Auspicious Spirit procs, and of course your other abilities will obviously benefit from the increased critical strike as well. Lastly, from our Tomb of Sargeras list, is the Terror from Below, which I haven't listed on the screen because for us it's essentially a weaker Spectral Thurible, but due to also having a high proc chance and its effect actually doing quite a formidable amount of damage, I did want to at least mention it. The Terror from Below is stronger though the more enemies of you are stacked, so just keep that in mind. Obviously it will be a bit more tricky to do the same amount of damage than with the Thurible. Also very strong in AoE situations is the Acid Catalyst, or rather Accurate Catalyst Injector, as it, similar to the Tome of Unraveling Sanity, grants a huge buff of your stats which will bump up your AoE damage as a whole, and of course the Arcano Crystal, again because of the flat stat buffs. For any AoE and multi-target situation, these should be the trinkets you want to be aiming for. In single target situations, so for Antorus, very specifically Varimathras, or Immunor the Soul Hunter, or of course the Gorathi Worldbreaker, if you can kill him within 2 to 3 minutes, we definitely see a shift in trinket dynamics. The Arcano Crystal and the Accurate Catalyst Injector definitely still dominate here, because the fact that the increase to your stats so much not only scales well into multi-target damage, but very obviously flat out buffs or single target damage output as well. Norganon's prowess is also very strong here due to the intellect effect and even because of the mastery on the trinket. Any haste stat stick is also very good, of course at a decent item level, so anything above 940 or at 940 really. Luckily for us, the Arcano Crystal and the Catalyst Injector, which are both strong on multi-target, are also arguably the strongest on single target, meaning if those two, or instead of the Crystal of course are legendary, Aman'Thul's Vision, are available to you, you will hardly ever really have to switch your trinkets. Now completing our list is a composite group of trinkets, which are all good, and if you have any of these, you'll honestly be perfectly fine. For general gearing purposes, you definitely want to stick to these trinkets. That being said, the Sheath of Asara does pretty strong simulated damage and is kind of a hybrid, being strong in both AoE and single target due to the way that the proc works. Norganon's prowess is also very strong, and this trinket, just like Aman'Thul's Vision, will gain in strength the more people in your raid group will be able to trigger the strength of the Pantheon group buff. Once most of your raid begins to have either this trinket or the legendary, you will definitely see it do a crazy amount of damage, so once you get it, definitely hold on to it. Both the Arcano Crystal and Aman'Thul's Vision should be kept once you have them, and you definitely want to aim for an Arcano Crystal anywhere at item level 900 and above. Honestly, an 890 Arcano Crystal is fine as well, but anything underneath will definitely be slightly behind higher rolled Antorus trinkets, so just keep that in mind. Now I hope this gives you somewhat of an insight about which trinkets to use and to try farming in Antorus the Burning Throne. Keep in mind that this list isn't perfect, as different factors like item level or gem slots could affect the value of the different trinkets, so as stated at the beginning, you want to use this video as a reference point, but not as a fixed, set-in-stone list. Either way, I hope this video did help to shed some light on different questions you may have asked yourself, and let me know in the comments below if you want me to go over all trinkets in a more deep detail, if perhaps this wasn't enough information for you. I tried keeping it as simple as possible for everyone to understand, but there is so much more to discuss about trinkets, so again, if you want this, just let me know. If this video did help you out, please leave a like as it helps me out tremendously, and subscribe if you want to stay updated on my content. We're actually reaching 4,000 subscribers slowly, and guys, needless to say that I am exceptionally overwhelmed by all of your support. At 4,000 subscribers, I'll definitely do a special, I promise, but this video obviously isn't the place to discuss that, so we'll talk about that in another one. As always, have a good one, my friends, and I will see you all in the next one. A lifetime in repeat.